Good Tuesday morning, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to Real Talk, an insider's guide to real estate, life, and the pursuit of happiness. Of course, we're live in Charlottesville, across Central Virginia, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love CVille Network. Real Talk, this particular morning, presented by Intrastate Service Company, a home's best friend. Intrastate Service Company, Realtors and agents. If you're looking to get to the closing table a little bit faster, Intrastate Service Company, your first call to make a home's best friend. Judah Wickower, you're the director, my friend. Studio camera, and then the two-shot. Distinguished gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning, sir. As I was saying before, the cameras went hot. I guess is that the right terminology?
They go live. Mics go hot.
Mics go hot. Cameras go live.
Yeah.
I think after 2.5 years, I'd figure that out. Yeah. But I'm getting there. On that end of it, what I love about today, it's just me and you being me and you, having a cup of coffee with a bunch of folks listening. But I'm going to get a little bit sentimental. Or I was on my bike today. Maybe it was the endorphins. Maybe it was the extra effort I was putting in. But man, how blessed am I to do this a few times a week with you guys, and everybody who watches. And I had some awesome conversations yesterday, and some folks calling yesterday, chiming in on how we did so well yesterday. It just makes you feel, hey, this is good stuff. But what I really want to do is spend a minute or two thanking our sponsors. We get into what we're doing so much. Sometimes we don't do that as often as we should.
Should never emphasize that.
I know that, but I'm being honest and I'm being forthright. So I wanted to take a few minutes to do that. So Intrastate, right? Service company, a home's best friend. So and the reason I was thinking about it, because we're talking about inventory growing a little bit, and every one of our sponsors are in this chain that's required or part of a transaction. And I kind of want to take each one and pick them apart a little bit. But one of the things that we're starting, I was reading some articles this morning, one of the things that are starting to change again as inventory goes up, as listings go up, is exactly what Intrastate Service Company is built for. Folks are starting to get a little bit of work done on their house. 2 months ago, what did we call it yesterday? Cliff jumping.
Cliff jumping, yeah.
That was not so much the case. Now it makes a difference. And when you want to reach out to somebody like Intrastate Service Company, they have plumbing, they do renovation work. You really need to dive into what the services that they provide. But a little something like fixing a leaky faucet, or doing a paint job, or doing any one of the wonderful things that Intrastate Service Company, a home's best friend, does, will help get your house ready for the market. And that's starting to change a little bit. We're not quite there yet, but it's starting to change. And then, one of our other sponsors is Pearl, kind of in this tying them together, is that, Pearl certification, we've just had it done on our house. They will certify your home, and folks get 5% more, and it's factually proven. And then American Pest, like you need to get your termite done before you can close. So those folks are wonderful. And then we love Scott Morris with Ross Mortgage. I actually was working a deal with him this morning on the way in. The guy is always available for a phone call. We love Quentin Beckham at Keller Williams Alliance. And I want to take a little extra shout out to Dairy Market, because they were in the news yesterday. So they just officially opened up their both event spaces. One is a Below. It holds about 6,000 folks, and then they converted the old church. So I actually was texting with Jody last night. We want to bring them back on to talk a little bit about their event space. But please support these folks. Without them, Jerry and I wouldn't be doing this. So please, please, please. So anyway, I just wanted to take a moment and thank them.
All right.
They're wonderful folks, and please support them.
Let's talk numbers.
Yeah. So yesterday was a flip-flop.
Yeah.
Right? Over the weekend it was one way. Now it's a flip-flop. I take a look at this market monitor, and this is a car footprint: Charlottesville, Albemarle, Fulvana, Nelson, and Green.
Right.
There was only 8 homes that came on market yesterday. 14 went under contract. But the interesting thing, when you take a dive into those eight units, 7 of them were coming soon. So as we talked about that yesterday, that's anywhere from 1 day until 2 weeks. So really, right now, that what just came on the market was really just 1. 14 went. So that kind of feels like it was a couple of months ago. So I think, what you're going to end up seeing here, and we've been calling this for a while, we called a V in the last one. I think you're just going to see this roller coaster ride where one day there'll be a little bit more on the market, the other day some will come off, and it'll be balanced back and forth on that end of it. But there was a gentleman, I can't remember his name, who commented yesterday that or it was a young lady, I can't recall, that lost 3 deals. And we went into this whole conversation, and I know that this isn't the best way to describe the market from a buyer's perspective right now. This is not a sprint, this is a marathon. You got to stay in the game to go ahead and get it. The reality of it is there are more homes coming on the market. The reality of it is we're not seeing 10 or 15. I remember not too long ago we talked about this, we had one with over 20 offers on a house. Now there's 2 or 3 or 4. It depends on the location. Some may have more, some may have less. So I guess my point I'm trying to get at is your odds are getting better. Right, but stay in the game. It's we were crunching numbers yesterday at 2.77%, 2.8% mortgage rate. You can afford maybe a little bit more, and that's one of the conversations we're having with folks. Right? Okay, let's not look at the sales price for the moment. Let's look at how much you want to spend per month and back into it, which Michael did a great job for us yesterday.
Chetsky?
Yeah. So, that's kind of, I think we're going to continue to do this. I think we're going to continue to see this. We're going to continue to crunch the numbers to go back and forth on that stuff. But at the moment, I just want folks, the buyers anyway, not to give up. And it's happening. You're getting what's called buyer fatigue, and I get it. Real estate agents are getting fatigued. Folks are just getting a little worn out. But I think we're about ready to start the fall market. It's looking that way. It looks like the summer market is kind of fizzled out a little bit, and we're starting to get a little bit more into the fall market, which things pick back up.
Guy Wolfel has this comment.
Thank you, Guy.
Guy says this. I understand what you're saying, Keith, but going into the fall, there's no way but this being a seller's market moving forward. It's going to be a seller's market throughout 2021 and into next year. I think we all know that. And then he has a question about Glenmore. He says, Jerry, we've looked in your neighborhood. I watch your shows. We looked at your neighborhood for a couple of homes and missed out twice. Any insight into why your neighborhood is so hot right now?
So let's pick that question apart a little bit. So the first half of it, you're right. It is a seller's market, and we I don't
think we should sugarcoat that.
No, we're not going to sugarcoat it. I guess the point I was trying to make is that I think we talked about this. It went from absolute insanity to just insanity, right?
Yeah.
So you're losing the folks are losing deals. They absolutely are. There's some tricks to the trade that we can talk about a little bit later on to see how you can position yourself in a little better position.
Guy adds this: I lost out on 2 deals that were in the 850 to 900 range. One of them was all cash.
Yeah. So
all cash at that price range.
Yeah, and you're seeing all cash at different spreads. It used to be all cash was at a certain price point.
Yeah.
Now it's pretty much across the board. Or they're coming up with 50% cash, which for all intents and purposes is all cash,
yeah.
Right? And that's an important reason to stipulate why, because you can do an appraisal waiver at that point.
Exactly.
Right,
exactly.
So you don't have to get an appraisal.
You remove a contingency.
And
that's a pretty big deal.
It's a pretty big deal. I think the point I'm trying to make
certainly expedites the deal.
Well, it expedites it, and that's from a seller's perspective, right?
They just want the bag of money as quickly as possible.
Yeah. So what they want is the path of least resistance, right? They want and any decent agent that is working with them will walk them through each one of these processes. I think the point I was trying to make is that don't give up, right? and you missed two. I get it. But there may be a third one that comes up that's perfect. I just had a situation, just talk about this. I just had a situation happen with a buyer. We missed 8 of them. And they were 8 homes they weren't absolutely in love with.
8 homes? Wow.
We missed 8 homes, yeah. This was maybe a month or so ago. Found the 9th home, totally fell in love with it. Timing was right. We were in the door first. We pulled a little bit of little trick stuff to make sure that we were in a very good position on the offer. We actually beat out a cash offer on that transaction because my wife and I took the time to understand what the seller's needs were. The particular seller's circumstances was, I've got to be careful. I don't want to get myself in too much trouble here, but they wanted a younger family to come in. Now, technically, they're not supposed to do that, but there was a particular reason why that they wanted to do. We beat out a cash offer, and it wasn't around price. It was around the other contingencies that were in the particular contract, and those contingencies. And I have to, again, I can't give away too much, but those, because we haven't closed it yet, but those particular contingencies were things like home inspections and stuff like that. So don't give up. That's kind of the point I'm trying to make. Just don't give up. There's product coming on the market every day. Get yourself a trusted advisor, and you can do this.
Guy Wolfo adds again, this is his 3rd tweet, watching on Twitter. He says, we're in a domino deal. We have to sell our house to buy the next house, and that makes it very tough for us to find a home seller that's willing to work with us, knowing we have this contingency on the table. And you know what? That's a pretty common contingency. It's
a very common contingency. So you're making the show better. You're making me better, Guy. Thank you, sir. So it's a home sale contingency. And we talk about contingencies all the time. And so the difference between the cash deal and this, and I can't get into too many details in it, the cash deal really wasn't a cash deal because it was contingent on the closing of a piece of property that was out of state that hasn't closed yet. The other offer that was accepted was not contingent upon the sale of a house, and they were putting a substantial amount of money down on it. It was 20%, which today is a substantial amount of money. You can get up to 0% down payment now at this point. The thing about a domino deal is,
it's a tough situation in this market.
It's tough.
Yeah.
And I suspect if we have an opportunity to dive into it with Guy a little bit more, I suspect there's multiple domino deals going both ways.
Right.
I'm in one of those situations right now where the buyer needs to sell and the seller can't sell because he hasn't or she hasn't had a place to go to yet. So that's like a double end. That's like a weird domino. That's a dominoes going both directions, because if she can't find something to move into, then we're kind of stuck in this no man's land on that. But yeah, it's interesting. We talk about this. You talk about this all the time. There's people that are selling their homes, or they're coming from the Northeast, or they're coming from different areas with a pocket full of cash, and it's just harder than heck to compete against that.
My neighbors.
Yep. But you can do it. There's ways around it. You just really need to understand what the seller's motivation is.
Our neighbor sold a $1.4 million townhome. In
Townhome.
Townhome. $1.4 million. Bought a 5,000 square foot home for $835,000.
Yeah.
And then did what looks like $250,000 of renovations to their house, and still banked $250,000, $300,000.
Was that the one that I drove by when I went to pick you up?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I
mean, they walked, sell 1.4, buy something at $850, walking with $550. Call it $475 after everything.
So how are we gonna solve this? How we're gonna solve this problem for Guy?
Guy's not gonna get to buy his dream home this year. I hate to say this to you, Guy. But if you have limited inventory on the market, which we do, and you're requiring to sell your home, before you're able to buy the next home. That's a contingency that's going to be a tough pill for any seller to swallow, especially in a multiple offer situation.
So let's talk about the sales side for him first.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some options that he can
Sure.
work on with that. And I'm sure he has a trusted advisor helping him, so I'm sure I'm not going to tell him anything that he does not know. But for the sake of a talk show,
Sure.
let's do that. So there's certain little tricks of the trade that one can use on that end of it. So it is not an uncommon thing right now, depending on where his home is and all this kind of great stuff, is to put it out there with a sale contingency, like we were talking about earlier, that, look, I'll sell you this house, right? But I need time to go find another home. So you can negotiate that on the front end.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so just putting it on our seller side of the equation at the moment, that could kick cash people out. Right? So in other words, when I go to list a house, I'm going to say, look, we're going to only accept contracts for Jerry's home unless inside these contracts, Jerry has the contingency to stay in his house for 60 days or 90 days to find something else to buy into. It's out there. It happens.
Okay.
You're smiling, but
I
it
think
happens.
you're not being realistic here.
Well, I'm doing a couple of them. It happens.
Okay. Keep going.
It happens. So that's one option. So in other words, you put it out there and you can do that. And so what happens with that is it kind of moves the cash buyer out unless they have another place, because typically they're looking to move in pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. Then somebody can walk in and say...
So you're basically saying, I'm going to sell my home, and you're going to tell in the notes of the listing
mm-hmm.
that I am not going to sell you this home until I've purchased another one.
We're not going to accept. We're only going to accept contracts that have the seller contingency, and it gives you time to find another house. That's not an uncommon thing. If there's other real estate agents watching, ask them if they've ever done. We're doing several of these right now.
Okay.
Right.
You're going to list your house, and you're going to say, I'm not going to sell this home without the contingency that I have time to purchase another house.
Absolutely.
And then the buyer of the home that you're listing has to be patient before they can purchase your home.
Or they move on to another one.
Yeah.
So what happens with that is it gives the buyer an opportunity. Now it becomes like kind of a double domino deal.
Yeah.
Until we get what we're all been talking about, what Neil's been preaching, Neil Williamson has been preaching.
That's not happening anytime soon.
We're getting more inventory.
Right.
This is going to require very creative, outside of the box thinking in order to get transactions moving along, and this happens to be one of them. So that's one solution.
Okay.
I'm still got my seller hat on now.
Okay.
I'm representing the seller. You can do that. You're 100% right. It's outside of the box. Not every buyer is going to look at that and go, no. But on the other hand, you have a guy that walks in and says, look, I need a contingency to sell my house. Look, I need a contingency to find another house, and we can come to terms, and that may work. That deal may actually come together on these different moving parts. The other way to do this from a seller's perspective is to do a leaseback, and that gets negotiated on the front end. So let's talk about that. So if you're going to sell,
that's more realistic.
Both of them happen. I will say the second happens more than the first.
Right. The first one, you're scarlet lettering your house.
But in today's market, it's not a scarlet letter.
Okay.
Right? If I
saw that on the MLS and I'm
that's
buying
you.
a home, I'd be like, there's no way I'm even going to scroll through these photos.
But if there was a house listed in your neighborhood that meets Guy's conditions, so forth and so on, that has this note on it, and he can walk in, and there could be a deal to be made there that might...
The leaseback is something that happens. I'm very familiar with the leaseback. I think that's a good approach.
Well, that's a good approach, yeah. But the first one happens, Jerry. Don't discount it. It happens, brother. Not often, but it does happen in certain circumstances. Like I said, we're doing several of them right now.
Christopher Eagle, hello, buddy.
Hey, Christopher. So the second is a leaseback, right? Yeah. So I'm on the seller side still. So you can go ahead and sell your home, and I'm going to lease it back for a certain amount of weeks or months or whatever for you to find something else to do that. That's not helping Guy out at this point.
Right.
The first option potentially can help Guy out.
Yeah.
If the stars align and all that kind of great stuff.
Alternatively, he could sell the home, his current house, and take a short-term rental.
Well, I was about ready to go to the
Yeah.
buyer stuff,
And then you could just, you sell your home, you get your chunk of money, and then you're going to new houses that you're going to buy, and you don't have this contingency in place. You make yourself a hell of a lot more attractive in that scenario.
So on the buy side, you're 100% right. So I'm actually working with a couple of clients that are doing that same situation. They're actually coming from out of state, selling their homes, can't find what they want.
Uh-huh.
We're going to do a short-term lease for them. They're the people that guy's competing against.
Yeah.
Right now they have their pot full of cash, and they're waiting for the right product to come up and go ahead and move. That is absolutely the right. But from Guy's perspective, he now needs to move twice.
Yeah.
And that's an expense, as you will know.
That's definitely an expense right there. This is what I would say to you, Guy. I would say patience is a virtue, and this right now, my friend, is an absolute seller's market. And with the contingency that you have in place, you face an uphill battle to get the next home.
Yeah, but don't give up hope, because there's options, and I'm sure he's working with a trust.
He's a businessman.
I'm sure he is.
Yeah, he understands this.
Yeah, so he's working with a trusted realtor, I'm sure, and just reach out to him and say, what are my options? And but you just got to keep on throwing it up against the wall, just like my grandmother used to say.
Yeah.
Throw it up against the wall, throw it up against the wall until it sticks.
Until it sticks. That's what we're trying to do around here. Neil Williamson, hello and welcome to the show.
Hey, Neil.
Keith, you got rates at all-time low. We got no inventory on the market, very little inventory.
One came on yesterday.
He brings up my neighborhood. I'm looking at it right now. It looks like you got 3 active listings in the neighborhood I live in.
They're all new construction, right?
No, these are
new
existing.
ones? Mm-hmm.
He asked, why is the neighborhood so hot? I think it's a number of reasons. We've covered that on Real Talk. You have outside things to do. You have backyard, which is COVID and Delta friendly. You have amenities like walking trails and hiking trails and golf courses and tennis courts and swimming pools. And frankly, Stanley Martin, who we love Stanley Martin is driving ridiculous value within the Glenmore neighborhood because of its new construction product. I mean, you got homes that are 2,080 square feet, 2,200 square feet that are trading in the high 8s. So
that's starting point.
That's starting point.
Yeah.
So if you have existing construction that's 5,000 plus square feet in this neighborhood with the same lot size, that existing construction is going to follow suit with the new construction, and all the prices are going to rise.
So I read an article this morning in Realtor magazine. So much like yourself, I just dive into reading like crazy. I didn't bring a copy with the podcast, so I'm going from memory, which you know how that goes.
Yeah.
But it's interesting you brought this up, because what they were talking about in this Realtor article, this trend, and we've been talking about this trend of moving to the Glenmores, moving to the Lake Monticellos, moving to the outside area, has a lot to do with cost, right?
Uh-huh.
But not that much. So what they did is they did a survey, and I don't want to quote so much numbers on it, but this trend of moving out or into these communities has been going on since 2014. So it's 2014. So this has been going on long before COVID. COVID just blew it out of proportion. And it was an interesting survey, and I'll have a little bit more either for Friday or next week when I get a chance to actually write some numbers down. But these trends are not going backwards. Therefore, Glenmore is hot because it checks all the boxes. And it's been checking all the boxes for quite some time. Spring Creek is checking all the boxes. Lake Monticello, which we talked at length yesterday with 2 rock stars from Lake Monticello. Glenmore is doing it. We didn't talk about Wintergreen last week, but Wintergreen yesterday. But Wintergreen is also growing, and it's a matter of number of transactions, or the market goes in that. So this trend is going to keep on going that way. But you're spot on. I think, it's interesting. I come from a different lens on Glenmore, right? I remember when you couldn't give anything away at Glenmore.
Yeah, I mean, it's done in a complete 180. Stephanie Rhodes, I have an off-topic question.
Sure.
Are there any type of first-time home buyer loan plans offered when you build, but it's your first house?
Oh man, that's a great question. I don't know if Scott or Mike is on, Either of them are online. But I don't think, the problem is first-time home buyers for new construction, there's no product. The only builder
No, she's looking for financing.
Understand that.
Yeah.
You got to have product to buy in order
They
to
have
get
the
the
land already.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Got
They
it.
already own massive amounts of dirt.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. So now they're talking about something completely different.
Yeah. I would imagine this is subdividing dirt that they already own.
Got it. So what they're talking about is a construction perm loan.
Yeah. That's what it's.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Great question. Construction perms are starting to come back. I'd reach out to Scott Morris or whoever you wish, your trusted loan advisor on that end of it. But Scott will be able to help you with this because we're doing one right now. If you own the land,
Yeah, you got a piece of collateral that you can utilize to get financing.
correct. So the need to come up with 20% or a substantial amount of down payment on that. The new construction loans are a little the construction perm loans are a little tricky. We have a particular client that thinks that they could have built it themselves and they can't. So what happens in order to do that, you have to have a Class A contractor, you have to have a builder build it for you. And generally what happens with that is not only will you be vetted through your financing, also the builder will be. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a double-headed sword on that end of it. So, but yeah, as far as that, construction perms are coming back. 2 or 3, 4 years ago, nobody was doing them. So a great roundtable discussion. We can bring in Scott and Mike and have them talk about that.
So what's the advice you offer Stephanie here?
So the advice I offer Stephanie.
First-time home buyer loan plans when you want to build your first house.
Yeah. So if you're building your first house on your piece of property, you own the piece of property, there are products out there. I can't quote them chapter and verse. Need to reach out to Scott. Need to reach out to your trusted loan advisor on that. That's assuming you own the land. If you don't, usually what happens is you're going to have to pay that off, which is in essence a down payment. And here's the trick to that also, Stephanie. If you are bringing in a contractor, they're going to want probably a down payment before they get started.
Yeah, what is it, usually 25%?
Depends, but somewhere between 10 and 30%.
Yeah.
Now, depending upon the value of the land and the appraisal and how much you're borrowing, and are you borrowing 80% of the build, it's a little tricky formula on that end of it. It could be that the down payment comes out of the loan. So you have to really get a hold of a loan officer to really help you structure that.
The down payment on the new construction costs.
But here's the important takeaway from that. If we were having this conversation a couple years ago, the answer was there's nothing available. So there are products available. There are loans available that one can go ahead and tackle it. I thought she was talking about like buying like a Stanley Martin or that kind of thing. So if that's the case, that's the program we set up with the land trust with Stanley Martin. There's no down payment. Oh, actually, there's a down payment assistance that comes from it, and they're able to buy, first-time home buyers on that end of it.
Neil Williamson quotes a link from Realtor magazine.
Thank you,
He
Neil.
said homes are selling in the top 10 markets in an average of 6 days.
Yeah.
31 days faster than the rest of the country. Here are the top 10 markets according to Realtor magazine. Number 1 is East Colorado Springs, Colorado. Number 2 is, you're going to have to help me with that word, West.
Oh, my God. Here, let's put it this way.
Irondequoit in New York. West Irondequoit in
So
New York.
that's up by Rochester.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I'm butchering that name. Peabody, Massachusetts is 3. Manchester, New Hampshire 4. Brentwood, North Carolina 5. Lincoln Village, Ohio 6. Milford, Massachusetts 7. Concord, New Hampshire 8. Farmington, Michigan 9. And Franklin, Tennessee is 10. The hottest markets in the country according to Realtor magazine. Curious where we fall in this hottest markets in the country. Do you know that, Neil, by chance? Where does Central Virginia or Charlottesville fall in the hottest markets in 2021 in this country? Neil Williamson, President, Free Enterprise Forum.
That is really super interesting. That Iroquois, the name we can't pronounce, You know what that's technically called?
What's that?
The Rust Belt.
Okay.
That's up over by Rochester, Buffalo. If that.
Are you sure?
If that.
Aren't Rochester and Buffalo up there?
Rochester, Buffalo, exactly where that is.
Okay.
Up that way is Canada.
Okay, got you. Medium list price 175.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Okay.
I did not, I would not have expected that. Maybe it's the price point. Maybe that is, just dive into what that might be up in that that is if you zoom into that area.
That's what I'm doing.
That's Rochester and Buffalo. I may
Yeah.
be wrong, but double check that. But I'm 99%. The only reason I know that I used to visit up there when I was a kid.
Okay, I'm looking in there.
But that's interesting, and I'm wondering if that's because of this Zoom town, this work from home thing, plus the price point is.
Yeah, the price point is very appealing. 175 is the median price there.
Yeah, so I couldn't tell you where we are sitting in that whole list, and I'm sure Neil is fired.
That is Rochester.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
That's right next to Rochester. Buffalo's a little more toward the point, but that's right next to Rochester.
Yeah, so at that point, Rochester and Buffalo is pretty darn close. Little trivia thing, Judah will probably remember. What is Rochester? A couple things. What is Rochester famously noted for?
Judah, do you know that answer?
The one is a university. RIT, Rochester Institute of Technology, which is like a MIT equivalent, but that's the hometown of Kodak.
Okay.
And that kind of fizzled out with when Kodachrome and 35 millimeters or what, but that's the home base for Kodak.
Where do you think we rank on hottest markets in the country? Are we even in the top 25, do you think?
I don't know the answer to that, to be honest with you. I'll flip it around a little bit.
What's up, Johnny Ornelas?
It's the hottest market because a guy like Guy can't buy what he wants.
Okay.
Right? It doesn't really matter. It's kind of like unemployment, right? Unemployment may be going down, except if you don't have a job, then unemployment sucks.
Yeah.
Right? Unemployment is high at that point. I don't know. I wouldn't want to quote a number and really get off the charts wrong on that. But the reality of it is, they may be individual areas, but the whole country's like this, for the most part.
Gwen Varone, welcome to the broadcast. Folks in Richmond, McLean, Crozet, Lynchburg, and Maryland watching Real Talk now.
So what's happened in McLean, right? What's happening in Northern Virginia? Right, you just echoed some of that. You have a next-door neighbor that sold a townhome. I have a couple of clients.
$1.4 million
Yeah,
townhome.
and I'm really curious on what that product looked
Less
like.
than 1,600 square feet with 2 young daughters. Quarantining during COVID. He said, fortunate to survive. Husband and wife, mom and dad, kids through COVID.
So he moved down here because
He can work from ISP.
Yeah.
Now they both work from ISP in their basement
there you go,
in Keswick.
in Keswick.
Yeah. $1.4 million townhome, $850,000 home purchase, roughly 5,000 square feet, huge yard. Stephanie, you know this house. This is the home where we filmed that TV commercial, and I'll leave it at that. This is the home I'm talking about that they purchased. They sold their townhome, moved into the home where we filmed that TV commercial with 2 young daughters.
Yeah. This is not a sprint. This is a marathon. You gotta be in the game. You gotta keep on doing as my grandmother, who was off the boat Irish, used to say, "Keep to me, boy. You gotta keep on throwing. Up against the wall until it sticks. And you just gotta stay in it. 99% of success is showing up and just trying. And I know because
Guy says, thank you for the straightforwardness. We also think that this might not be the right time for us to buy.
Yeah. It's an interesting question, right? Because
More comments.
the reality of it is for Guy, it depends on where he's at in his world, right? And his position and all this stuff. The negative side of waiting, the downside of waiting.
Because interest rates are going to go up.
That's exactly right.
The positive of waiting would be potentially more inventory.
Correct, more inventory. So it's this yin and yang thing, right? As the inventory creeps up a little bit, and maybe as the rates creep up a little bit. But man, I think the rates are going to be just like oil, right? Oil is not really going through the roof that everybody thought it was going to go through the roof. I think your interest rates are going to stay definitively below sub 4, everything that I'm reading.
So look, this situation here that guy's in that he's talking about, he says that he's now talking about waiting.
Yeah.
So that's his home.
Yeah.
That would not go on the market.
That's exactly right.
That's the home he's trying to buy that would not go under contract. That's the home that if he had sold his existing home, someone else is not going to buy. And if it's a domino deal, the person that was going to buy guy's existing home may or may not have had to sell their home. So this impacts a lot of inventory coming on the market, on and off.
So this is why the good Dr. Lisa Sturvant says what we do, what we're talking about, this whole real estate business is number 2 in GDP in the state of Virginia, behind the government.
Yeah.
You've just outlined the exact issue here, right? And the exact issue. I tell you, I had an interesting conversation, and I'll just make this about me for a moment.
Okay.
Had an interesting conversation with very senior UVA people, like very, very senior. And they were like, well, tell me about the real estate market. I said, blah, 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 blah. And they go, you must be crushing it. I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. If I can't help Guy.
Yeah, you don't have inventory to sell.
If I can't help Guy buy a home and navigate all that stuff, guess what I don't do? I don't get paid, right? So, yes, the real estate market is quote unquote hot because from her perspective, all she's seeing is stuff trading real quickly. But if we can't help our clients achieve their goals and their dreams, we don't get paid, right? And that's just the way our business works, and we've been doing it for 3.5 decades. We understand how this works. And she was like, this particular individual was like, nah. I said, well, let me explain. I had to literally go into the details on how that works. That being said, if I was not knowing Guy, we would have to spend time to get to know each other and find out what their goals and objectives are. Your recommendation would be something that I'd probably consider seriously. Now's the time to get the most amount for your home. The problem is you got to move twice. And this is all about, right, real estate is 5 things, right? The last one that we talked about.
Or he could just wait till the spring.
He could wait till the spring.
Yeah.
But what if he can't get as much for his home in the spring?
That's very likely.
As he can get now.
Yeah, but the home that he buys isn't going to be as expensive either.
But what if the inventory doesn't come on?
I mean, what's the?
But he may not. And a guy. Thank you for.
He owns a house.
Yeah.
So he's not feeling the pressure to move somewhere because he already owns something.
That's exactly
right. He's got more leverage than someone that's in month 11 of a rental lease and choosing whether or not to sign on the dotted line for another 12 months.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, at least he owns it.
That's exactly right.
So
So his need to move.
It's not as significant.
Well,
as
we don't know. We don't know that, but
yeah.
So we don't know the circumstances, but we're assuming for the sake of a talk show that his need, and he doesn't, and he may want to, may not have to.
Right.
But there's a ton of folks that have to. And there's paths here.
And you don't want to be. You know what? Do you want to be competing against other people that have no choice but to buy? Someone who has no choice but to buy because they have to, that person is going to go balls to the wall against you to get a house.
So it's an interesting. It brings up an interesting thought, and I'm going to pivot a little bit on you.
Okay.
The P word, which we're not supposed to use.
Yeah.
The pivot word. So we're talking about all this stuff, and it's interesting because I'm picking bits and pieces of this article that I read earlier this morning on that end of it. There's a factor we're not talking about yet, and that factor is the house. Unless it's cash, the house has to appraise.
Yeah.
And I'm desperately trying to get an appraisal roundtable, and I can't get 2 folks. It's not that they don't want to do it; they're just so darn busy.
They're busy.
I can't get them to carve out pretty much half of a day to sit here and talk to you and I about this end of it. But you're starting to see there's a couple of transactions that I'm aware of recently that the appraisals are not coming in a contract amount, which is a freaking awesome thing. Because that's what got us into trouble in 2007 and 2006 and 2008. These appraisals were just keeping back up. There's circumstances that I'm helping other agents through on some circumstances where they're like $15,000 below the contract price. What do you do then, Coach? Right?
Yeah.
So what's happening in some of these transactions, because we're part of them, I'm part of them, is we're putting in the buy side, even on cash deals. There's a cash client that I'm representing right now that we're in the buy side that we are getting an appraisal done on the house, and if the house doesn't appraise, there's basically three options. One, we renegotiate. My buyer decides to move forward, or they terminate the contract. So you're starting to see that now. You're starting to see that because these appraisals are starting to balance a little bit, and which I think is a good thing. The appraisers are the ones, and the regulators that control the appraisers are the ones that kind of controlling this snowball, for lack of a better term. But yeah, so you've got appraisals.
He says you guys are right. We're going to wait.
Yeah.
We've lost out on two deals. We were beaten on all cash, which we didn't think would happen in the 8 to 9 price range. Yeah. Now we're going to wait.
Yeah, and again, it depends on his urgency and what he needs to do, right? And at the moment, it seems like he can sit tight and he can wait. And look, there's another thing that if we had Scott here, he would tell us, with Scott Morris with Ross Mortgage, most folks don't know this. If you have the ability to do this, you can buy rates down, right?
Buy points.
You can buy points down. So what could happen, he can wait a year, rates could climb up to a certain particular point.
Would you advise him to do that?
Buy
points today for the spring?
No.
Is that what you're saying?
No. At the point, so let's say he waits a year, and let's say rates are 3.5%.
Okay.
And he really wants it to be at 3. He can buy a half a point.
Yeah,
right?
Understood. Got it.
Most people don't know that, right? You can buy a percentage of a point or a portion of a point, because Ross would say, and I'm sorry to pick on you today, Ross, but Ross would say, I don't want my monthly payment to be any more than this, right? And I'm going to go ahead and spend X amount of money to get that rate down to stay at this, whatever this rate is. Most folks don't know you can do that. Now, you can't buy an unlimited amount. It's kind of depends on the loan and so forth and so on, but you can do that. So he's kind of on the right track. If he doesn't have to move, it's not helping me out, right? It's not helping out an agent on the buy side, but if he wants to wait, he can wait, right? Even if interest rates crawl up a little bit on that end of it, and he can talk to his trusted advisor, his loan officer, and say, okay, he can do it now, and say, okay, if I'm going to buy a year from now, right, and let's say rates are 3.5, can I buy down a half a point? And how much is that going to cost me?
Good advice right there from the distinguished gentleman. Sue Martin has this comment.
Coffee's kicking in.
I see that. Sue Martin has this comment. Jerry, I live in Redfields. Please ask this to Keith. Redfields is traditionally a transitional neighborhood. We have a tremendous amount of equity in our home and are looking to upgrade. There's no inventory on the market that has appealed to us just yet. What is his advice for staying or going in Redfields? It seems like anything listed in our neighborhood trades in a week or less.
So the answer to that is yes, right? It will trade in a week of less. So
Redfields is hot.
Well, so let's talk about this idea that you weren't so in favor of, right? What's the young lady's first name?
Sue.
Sue. So what Sue could do, right? You're in a hot market. That's where this first plan that I outlined could work, right? And there's really no...
Quentin Beckham is watching. I want you to pitch this plan to Quentin Beckham, our friend. Okay? And I want to get Quentin Beckham's take on this idea. No, I'm curious to see what other agents think about this idea.
Okay, so Quentin, find out I'll find out if I go into broker jail.
Okay,
here
no,
in a minute.
Quentin, listen to this here.
Okay, so
this is his idea. Okay.
This is his idea.
Please, go ahead.
Okay, so Sue's in Redfields.
Yeah.
Sue wants to buy.
Sue wants to buy somewhere else.
Got it.
Yeah.
Sue has made the emotional decision, I want to move. We're making some assumptions here, right?
Yeah.
Wants to move on that. So Redfields is a hot market. We're all in agreement that whatever she puts on is going to sell probably in 7 days.
A week or less.
So just think about what I just said, right?
Yeah.
So that means, unfortunately, there's multiple guys lined up behind him. Let's paint whatever that number is, whatever number you have.
To buy Sue's home.
To buy Sue's home.
Yeah.
Right. All right. And Sue puts in her listing agreement, because I've done this before. We'll put in her listing agreement, say, okay, I am not going to sign a contract where I'm not going to accept an offer unless in that offer it gives me time to go find something else. Now that's a condition that has to be negotiated, right? It's the same as price, it's the same as home inspection.
So that contingency is going to be what kind of time window? 30 days? 45 days?
It could be 90, it could be 60, it could be whatever we negotiate it to be.
So you're going to say in the contract, when listing this home in Redfields, Sue's home, I need 60 to 90 days.
Oh, no, I wouldn't put any time in it. I would say this, because I've done this before and it's worked. We will not accept contracts that will not give the seller an opportunity to go ahead and find a new home. You don't put any time limit in it, right? Because it's an item we're going to negotiate.
Okay.
Right? It's just like price.
Okay. So if I was buying that home.
Let me finish. But you're not. So then, because you won't do it. But what's behind you?
Yeah.
What's behind you?
Other deals.
There's multiple buyers behind you. It may not work for you. It may work for another buyer who goes, I'll take it.
Okay.
I'll take it. Not a problem. I'll take it.
Okay.
Right? I have a place to stay. I'll live in Keith and Yonna's basement.
Yeah.
Right? Only if you do wash and clean and all that stuff.
Quinn says, be careful, Keith. I'll drive over. Okay. Keep going.
Well, you have Quentin chime in. If I'm saying something I shouldn't be and I'm off base, Quentin will. Quentin will chime. Will chime. But in a real estate transaction, pretty much everything is negotiable. So this is what this does for Sue.
Okay.
Right? What it does for Sue. Sue can test the market. Sue can say, okay, I'm going to put the house on the market for 30 days. We're going to put this condition in there, and we're going to see what the market brings us. Right? And Keith and Judah will walk in and say, I will pay this amount of money. I will give you 90 days. We negotiate 90 days. Thank you very much. And we're under contract. And then Sue, we start going looking for another house. Now what this does, when I go to buy another house with Sue for somebody else, now I can say, I have Sue's house under contract. Here you go. It's not a contingency. The contingency is closing.
Okay. Can I try to pick this apart?
You're going to pick it apart.
Okay. I'm going to pick it apart. What if Sue doesn't find a house that she likes?
The contract goes away. It gets terminated. It's a contingency.
Exactly.
So Sue has nothing to lose.
So Sue, but who has something to lose there?
The buyer.
Exactly. The buyer is basically, this is what
you're
basically.
You're missing.
You're basically asking the buyer of Sue's house. The buyer of Sue's house has to understand this.
So you're. Let's play the game. You're the buyer.
Yeah.
I'm the seller.
Okay, so I'm the buyer of Sue's house, and I go into. I really like Sue's home in Redfields. I really like Sue's home in Redfields. All right, Sue. You have a contingency in here that you have to buy another house before you will sell me your current house.
Sure.
Then immediately I'm going to be like, we need to narrow down the window of time. I'll be like, I'm patient and willing, Sue, to entertain the thought of you buying another home. I'll give you 30 days to do that.
So you think this would work if this was a buyer's market?
No, let me finish this thought here. Then I'll go down that road. So if I said to Sue, if I went to Sue, I said, I'll give you 30 days, Sue, to find another house. Okay?
Then Sue says no.
Sue says, I need 90 days.
Yeah.
We'll split the difference and say 60.
No, 90 days.
Okay, then I would walk.
Then?
She's scarlet lettering her house.
No, she's not. It's because
you're basically saying Sue in a seller's market with limited inventory, and she's already admitting she can't find a house to buy, is then going to have a tight time window to go find a dream home to sell a home that she already loves in Redfields.
Okay.
That's a hell of a lot of what ifs.
So you're taking the seller's position on this at the moment.
I'm taking all positions.
Got it. Okay. So I'm just saying it's an option. It may not be the perfect option for Sue, but what does Sue have to lose at this point? What does she
She
have?
has nothing to lose.
That's it.
I mean, she
Well,
has a couple deals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we just if the fact is we've determined that Redfields is hot.
Redfields is hot.
And
She'll have
Redfield-
backup offers, is what you're saying.
I don't know, backup offers is a very specific term, but let's stay away from that term.
She'll have a lot of interest.
There are multiple buyers for that market. There's not one buyer.
Yeah.
This is not 2008. This is not 2009.
Yeah,
when
especially
they're-
for that price point.
Right. For that price
Yeah.
point, there's multiple buyers in there. And what's going to happen is the buyer is going to sit down and look at this and make a decision. Do I want to give this time from the buyer's perspective? And the buyer might say, no, I got to be in tomorrow. I'm sorry, I can't do it. I got to find something else.
How many of those, and I appreciate your straightforwardness. Quentin says what you mentioned is totally straightforward. It's an added contingency on behalf of the
Yeah.
seller to ensure that the seller has a home to go to.
That's exactly right.
Grayson says, how many deals like this has Keith done in his career in real estate?
Oh, God, probably several dozen just recently.
Okay, so you've done 24 and since 1987.
Oh, no, recently. So it's market driven.
Right.
Right.
This is a seller's market strategy.
Yeah. So I will tell you, this is like a 12 to 24 month cycle, right? Prior to that, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Right.
Because
There's no inventory, and it's such a seller's market. I mean, I like your creativity.
but it works.
Yeah.
And that's the key here, right? You have to adapt constantly. United States Marine Corps, adapt and overcome. Great interview with Bellamy Brown yesterday, by the way.
Thank you. He said afterward, thank you for all you do.
Yeah. And
After the interview.
I love him to death.
Yeah. He's got some heart and
Well,
some backbone.
I'm going to tear up. He's a brother.
Yeah.
So
He's a Marine.
He's a brother Marine. Yeah. So.
I like this approach, Keith.
And I'm tearing up because I'm thinking about my buddies that are in Kabul right now.
Yeah.
So.
Afghanistan.
Pick. It's market driven. And that's why you need a trusted advisor. So as far as Sue is concerned, in her market and what she's trying to do, and my hat wearing a representation, I'm representing the seller on this transaction. This is a path that you can take. Now, I don't know. The market's. I'm trying to think of a market that's not moving fast. Somewhere in this area, and my brain isn't functioning enough to go ahead and do that. But this wouldn't work if there's a situation where there's only like no showings, no interest, right? Well, that's silly. This isn't going to work.
Yeah.
You got to get creative on a different level to help bring people in there. But if we are in a hot market that they are trading in days and minutes and hours and all that stuff, this works.
Redfields is a market like that.
And what Sue gets to do,
Yeah, she has all the leverage.
she has the leverage. What
Yeah.
she gets to do.
What would you say if you were representing a buyer? of
Yeah,
Sue's home?
I've been waiting for you.
What would you say to your client?
I've been waiting for you to say that. That's the reason I was trying to throw you in the buyer
Would
seat.
you encourage your client to pursue that deal?
So look, our business, what we do for a living,
Okay.
is individual based,
Okay.
right? We're trying to have a macro conversation.
He's
right?
basically saying the circumstances of the buyer I'm representing, they're different at any given time.
So we're going to have to make a ton of assumptions.
Yeah, right.
A ton of assumptions on what that buyer might be. So we can't just
I
say,
think the assumption is they're trying to buy a house, they want to get into a house.
I got it,
Yeah.
but
Okay. What if that buyer of Sue's home, the potential buyer of Sue's home, has a domino deal and they have to sell their house to get into Sue's house? They couldn't do that deal.
But that's up to Sue to make that decision, right? Right?
I mean-
It may be the good fit. You know, at the end of it,
What's the advice you would give?
so at the end of the day, I was just thinking about this. And you know what we are? We're a bunch of yentas.
Yeah. I mean, that's why we make a good talk show.
Well, yentas are people that, you know what a yenta is, right?
Tell me.
A yenta is a Jewish term for a person who puts marriage, that they put marriages together, right?
Yeah, you're a matchmaker.
They're matchmaker, that's
Yeah.
it. So we're a bunch of yentas. They tend to gossip a little bit too, but that's
You're a great yenta.
that's a
So,
whole different-
yenta, what would you say to a potential buyer of
So
Sue's home?
we got to paint the picture of what that looks like, right? And who this buyer is, right? You know, if this buyer is a cash buyer, right, and they're relocating down here or whatever, or they are somebody trying to buy a home cash for their UVA students, right? That have to be in at a certain time, right? Or some circumstances, then this is not going to work for that buyer. And we're going to say, look, this is going to work. Your risk, the risk that the buyer takes on this is we can get to the end of the 90 days and the seller can't find their home. Now you're out of a house. So from a buyer's perspective, it will only work if it meets a very specific criteria of the buyer. The buyer has to understand what they're getting themselves into, which we will explain to them, and it has to meet a certain criteria. From a buyer's perspective, I just took my seller hat off and put my buyer hat on. If their circumstances was that they have to move faster than what Sue's going to let that we've negotiated,
it's not the house for them.
We're going to just keep on going.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's maybe 10 more people.
Stephen Parr says, Jerry, ask Keith, how would this work if the buyers had to sell their house to buy Sue's?
So we're back into domino deals,
Yeah,
right?
which is common.
Very common.
Yeah. How many, this is a tough question. How many of the deals do you do from a percentage standpoint are domino deals? More than half?
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So the domino deal is you have to sell your existing house. You need the money from the sale of your existing house.
I'm going to walk that back
to
a
buy
little.
another
I'm going
one.
to walk that back a little. I think it's less than half.
I think it's less than half.
Less than half because it depends on the buyer, right? If the buyer needs the net proceeds from that.
You do 60 transactions a year roughly,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You've been doing this since 1987. So you've been doing this for 34 years.
Long enough.
So 34 times
Thanks.
60. 34 times 60 is 2,000 plus deals.
You just think I have these numbers off the top of my head.
Well, just basic math. 2,040
No,
deals.
you're talking about the percentage.
Okay.
of
What
that.
percentage of 2,040 deals?
I can't tell you that number.
Would you say it's 1,000?
If I throw a number at you, Jerry, I'm just making it up.
Okay. Gotcha.
Right. So, because I don't know it. The point is, it depends on the buyer's needs at this particular point in time. It could be, and that's, and I'm not trying to waffle here, is that there isn't a one size fit all answer
Solution, right.
to that. There is only a couple of limited answers for Sue, though.
Yeah.
Right? Her answer is put this in this, say, look, this is what we're going to do. Now she has a little breathing room to go ahead and do something. Or put your house on the market, get your cash out now. We have to sit down, figure out what net proceeds might be and so forth and so on. There's a whole length of work that we would need to do on that end of it to really help guide Sue through the process. But she could potentially sell her home, cash out, go rent. Well, that's kind of silly because now we're moving twice. So if we can negotiate a deal with one of these myriad of buyers, and you may have to go through 10 of them or 5 of them or 6 of them or 12 of them or 1, who knows, to meet that criteria, it may work perfect for Sue. But you know what? If she's not in the game, she'll never know.
Yeah. That's
right?
fair. Get off the sidelines.
She will never, well, she may not be at that point in her life, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the important conversation to have. That's really what this is about. So where are you in your life and what can we do to help you get there? Then once we understand that, from a buyer or seller's perspective, then we start pulling, what was the number? 2,000, how many transactions did we do?
2,040.
Now we start picking apart.
60 over 34 years.
We start picking apart these 2,000 deals and these 34 years of experience and go, okay, this is what I think we can do to help you get there.
Okay.
But we need to have that one-on-one conversation with you first. How am I going to help Mr. and Mrs. Miller? How are you going to help Keith and Yonna Smith? Because guess what? Yonna wants to leave, and Keith is like, I don't have nothing to do with this, which, oh, by the way, is a very common thing. So I'm not trying to answer your question, but I'm trying to dance around it a little bit.
Well, you came up with a good solution.
For
certain circumstances.
For the sell side.
Yeah.
It's brother, it's not me. This is not the only one doing this.
Yeah.
Doing this, but it is a potential solution if you are in a hot market and you are in a point that you need to move, or you're at this life point that you want to move. Like Keith and Yonna are empty nesters. I don't need the house that I'm in. On this end of it, I'm just emotionally attached to it, and I have not made this disconnect from the house. There, I said it.
Yeah.
Yonna has.
I appreciate that.
So,
You got a big heart.
well,
You saw your kids raised there.
I have not made this. Well, that's Yonna is too. It's just I emotionally have not disconnected from the house. So we talk about this all the time on the sell side. Just to go back to Guy, it has to move from a home to a house. So it has to move from, they have to make that emotional jump from a home to a house, and then when it becomes a house, it becomes a business transaction.
Yonna says hello.
Oh, hi, sweetheart.
And Quentin, that's from Quentin that Yonna says hello.
Yonna says hello.
Yeah, through Quentin right there.
Hold it. Are they having a meet? Hold it. Are they having?
Respond to him and ask him.
Are they having a meeting without me? Oh, I think I might have just got fired.
No. I was actually going to respond to him and say, "Are you having a meeting right now, Quentin?"
Chemistry is clicking.
Should I do that? Are you having
do.
a meeting right now?
You do whatever you want, Jerry. You've got the keyboard, brother. Look, from that particular perspective, I am confident. And I can say this with confidence because I know the Redfield market. I've been studying it actually for a client on that end of it. There'll be a buyer there.
Oh, no doubt.
That will.
There's one home on the market right now in Redfield. One.
That will accept those terms.
That contingency.
Absolutely.
There you go, Sue.
Now.
That's some valuable advice.
Now, Sue needs the other end of the equation now. Now, all of a sudden, we took our hat off.
Well, she needs to find a house to buy.
She needs to find a house to buy. And
can she be as picky in that scenario?
Well,
does she feel?
So we would.
She's going to feel pressure.
No, first of all, we would not pull this trigger until we really spent enough time with Sue to understand what her goals and objectives are.
Right.
Right. And
you said you wanted stuff from the feed. You got it.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you. And our advice might be, Sue, I think based on what we're hearing, this is not the right time for you. Right? Wait, sit tight and wait on this end of it. But if there is her reasoning, her why is such that it has to happen, or she's in a position she wants it to happen. Look, I'm getting texts.
I see that. More comments are coming in here about this topic. Sure. So there's one home on the market in Redfields right now, 522 Pebble Hill Court.
How much is it?
3 bedrooms, 2 baths. We're talking 1,700 square feet, one level.
Got it.
What do you think the asking price is? Okay, you want the specs again?
Try it again.
3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 2-car garage, 1,700 square feet, one level living, Keith.
Yeah, I know it's got a 3 in front of it.
0.13.
It's got a 4 in front of it? Wow.
Yeah. $430,000 asking price for 0.13 acres in Redfields, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 2-car garage, 1,700 total square feet, one level living.
So part of this conversation we have to have with Sue is, remember where I was trying to explain the numbers yesterday on the show, where if you were selling a house at that you have a mortgage on for 3 or 4.5 or whatever this percentage is, and your monthly payment is X.
Yeah, you're saying your monthly payment could actually go down even though you're buying a more expensive house.
Well, what I was trying to say was you might be able to afford more house for the same payment. That's really the conversation we're having with sellers and buyers. And so with somebody like Sue, this is not a single transaction. This is not a one-sided transaction, right? You can't have the sale conversation without saying, okay, where's your where is this other side of this going? Are you moving to Florida? Are you going to Arizona? Are you going? We have clients that are going back to live with kids or children because of deaths in the whatever it is. What is your why are you moving? And we need to understand that so we can help guide you through this transaction.
Quentin laughed at "Are you having a meeting?" comment.
No, they probably are, and I think part of it is okay because technically
they know Keith is here.
So technically, yeah, they know I'm here.
They know your schedule.
But technically, my wife is my supervising broker. So
he says we're sitting together in the office.
And they may be saying, okay, time to call DPOR.
Stephen Parr continues. This is from Twitter. Keith, do you think the inventory is going to pick up in the spring?
The answer, look, crystal ball, who the hell really knows?
First, I guess, should we ask, do you think it's going to pick up at the end of this year? And then before we get to the spring.
Well,
And will there even be a spring market, or will the spring market just be from now all the way
Well, that's
into
the
next
conversation.
summer?
That's the conversation we've been having,
Yeah.
right? This whole cyclical market of 2,000 some odd homes. God.
Gavin says hello too.
Oh, so I know.
Poking at us.
So I know exactly what's happening here. All of them are in the office
God,
on the big monitor watching good old Keith screw it up. Yeah, here you go, Keith. Look, so the reason this is the reason why we're doing our Monday show.
Yeah.
This is the reason why we're doing the Monday market monitor.
And yesterday's was fantastic.
It was outstanding. And the reason,
I think Maggie's watching.
yeah, she's a rock star.
She said she wanted to come back on again. Did you see that? She said, I wish we were doing it again today.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
No, I didn't, but Maggie, I actually called her after the show. We're going to bring them. We're going to kind of bring them in periodically over time to continue the Lake Monticello discussion. But the reality of it is, good Lord, I've lost my train of thought.
Do you think there's going to be more inventory in the market?
Got it. So the reason why I'm doing the Monday market monitor and the reason we're doing this is because I'm watching this on a daily basis. That's the reason why we talked about it today. Just yesterday alone, 8 homes out of the 8. This is only what came on the market. This is the car footprint. 7 of them were coming soon. Last week, when I ran it for last week, the week that we talked about yesterday, there was very few coming soons. Now there's new coming soons. So coming soons means, okay, we got 7 more homes about ready to hit the market. Only us as real estate agents can see that, right? It's not on Zillow, it's not on whatever. But when they hit that active number button, that's when it's going to get dumped out to the 10-ton elephants in the room. But we had 14.
Which is what, the agents?
No, currently it's in front of the agents. So all the agents, I can look at these 7 homes, and I can figure out what they are. I can pick up the phone. I can call up Guy and say, okay, Guy, there's 2 units coming on. I don't know this. I'm making this up, guys,
Sure.
for the sake of a short, because I don't have the breakdown in front of me.
Could you show those homes?
No.
Okay. It can only be the agents previewing them.
That's a great question. That might be something for Quentin.
Quentin, that's a question for you. This is the coming soon period.
Yeah. So
can the agents walk through the home during coming soon?
That's a minutia that I don't think I've got my finger on. Quentin can probably answer that for us on that end of it. I'm gonna lean towards no.
Okay.
But what I can do is I can look at this home and I can reach out to Jerry, or I can reach out. This might be a match.
Yeah.
I don't know when it's going to come on. I can pick up the phone and call the agent on the other side and say, hey, when are you? Well, actually, when you do it in the listing on the agent notes, you have to put the date that it's going to come on. So I didn't dissect them, but okay, this house is going to hit the market on so and so date. We can look at pictures. We can do your digital curbside or curb appeal.
Curb appeal, yeah.
Curb appeal. We can look at
He
that.
says you cannot do that.
Got it. Thank
Agents
you.
cannot walk through the coming soon period.
Thought I called that right.
Yeah.
Okay. I should know that I'm on the car board, right? You think I would? I'm still getting fired. I'm getting fired across the board.
You're doing a hell of a job, my friend.
But what I can do is I can talk to Guy, assuming it's one of the units, and I can say that, okay, Guy, this is where we're at. This is coming up. It's going to be hotly contested, right? It's going to be whatever.
Could you as an agent, I'm trying to learn here, Quentin, could you as an agent during the coming soon period, is it 14 days?
That's the maximum.
Maximum. Okay.
So you got to look, as an agent, you got to look at the agent notes, right? And it'll say in the agent notes, so if we're going to sell your house and put it in coming soon, right, coming soon status, and we say that it's, what's today? Today's Tuesday, right? We're going to put it on the market on Friday, and I have to say the house is going on the market on Friday.
Okay. So could you as an agent during the coming soon period say, hey, I got notified that this home is in a coming soon period. Could you then tell your client, why don't you go drive by and take a look at it?
Oh, that I can do. You can drive by. You can do that.
Drive by and take a look.
It'll have a sign, I'm sure, in front of it that with a big rider on it says coming soon.
Could you tell the listing agent to give me a video tour of this that I can show to my clients?
Again, that's a bit of minutia on that. This coming soon status is kind of new, so we're all kind of learning through that. I'll tell you how we do it.
Okay.
Right.
That's a valuable weapon coming soon.
Yeah. Well,
valuable tool.
it depends on the product, right? So for Redfields, this would be a great tool to do it. You kind of test the market a little bit. You figure out what kind of feedback you're getting from the realtors and so forth and so on. Did I say that right?
Yeah, you did say it
Look
right.
at that. Look at that.
Donna's happy.
I was watching Maggie yesterday. She
very much emphasized it.
She very much. So she watches the show enough to
Yeah,
make sure that Smith go ahead and do it.
She does watch the show.
She does very much
Yeah.
so. So thank you for doing that, Maggie. So what we do. So there's kind of loose, the criteria, I believe, and we just do it differently. I believe there's a minimum amount of photos that are required. The way we do it, if we're going to sell Sue's house, right, we will go ahead and get professionally photography done. We'll have drone shots. We'll do the video tour through the home, and all that's packed in the listing. So when Yonna or Quentin or Maggie wants to look at that, she has access to that. She can flip through the pictures. She can flip through the video and say, "Look, I think this home will meet your needs," right? And we can start having a conversation about that on that end of it. We can post it on Facebook because that's public marketing and all that kind of great stuff. And then I would be having a conversation with Guy, assuming this is the person that we're talking to, and saying, okay, this is going to come on the market, it's going to be hotly contested. It's going on the market on such and such a date. I've reached out to the agent and scheduled an appointment for 8 o'clock in the morning on Friday when it goes live. Let's get in there and go look at it. But let's get your ducks in a row before then, right? Let's get in front of Scott Morris, right? Trying to tie our sponsors back into this. Get in front of Scott Morris, get your pre-approval letter, how much money you want to put down, yada, 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 get through all that kind of great stuff. So when that door opens and we can get in there, then we can be ready to, okay, I'm in love with it, let's make an offer, and we go ahead and write the offer and submit it. And they sometimes, I'm now getting phone calls. Hold on a second. I got to shut my hearing aids off.
Kevin McDonald. Keith, is this the lowest amount of inventory you've seen on a market at one time?
Yes.
In your 34 years?
I just accidentally answered a phone call.
Was it Yonna?
No.
Yonna. This is the least amount of inventory you've seen in your 34 years in business?
Yeah.
Wow.
When I first moved to Lake Monticello
That says a lot.
in 1987, there was only 600 homes physically built there at that time. Would you take a gander of how many were on the market at that time? 1987.
Oh, I have no idea.
300.
Half?
Good 50%. What were we yesterday? We were not even at a point.
It's like 0.4.
It was
it was
a little over. It was like 0.6.
Yeah, 0.6.
It was 0.6.
Of Lake Monticello.
Of 1%.
Yeah.
Of 1%.
Less than 1% of Lake Monticello.
Of 1%.
Yeah, is on the market for sale. In a healthy market, what did she say?
Yeah, I kind of disagreed with her number a little bit.
Yeah, you thought it was a little high.
I thought it was a little high. Yeah,
I can tell.
Yeah, our chemistry's working.
Yeah.
Look.
But you didn't really.
That wasn't
because she was your guest.
Of course,
yeah.
we love her to death.
Yeah.
I think it's a little high. I think somewhere between 60 and 80 is kind of.
And she said.
A little over 80, if I remember correctly, 100 something or whatever. Yeah. So historically, anywhere between 1% and 5%. Is what I've seen, and I've been tracking this for a long time.
So 5% of 4,500, quick math right there, would be what, 90,
so
180? You're talking about 225 homes.
Yeah, that's the most I've ever seen it, and that was back in the 80s. That was back in the 80s, long before 1880s. It was back in the 1880s.
Long before. What does Neil Williamson call it? The time of great unpleasantness.
Something like that.
That was what Neil dubbed it.
Yeah. So to go back, I've been kind of, as you've been talking to me, I've been trying to think about the. What time is it?
11:30.
Oh, geez, sorry.
Yeah. Flies by when you're having fun.
I'm trying. The buyer answer.
Hello, Kyle Miller.
Hey.
Back days.
Oh man, Kyle's a rock star.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service, Kyle. It's a hard charging individual.
Oh yeah.
Think the world of him. Always did. Doing some great stuff too. If you watch his videos,
I do.
Much like Deandra McDonald, right?
Yeah. I believe it might be.
if you go ahead and watch his videos and his Facebook posts and ever really want to get into this I don't want to use the word flip because I hate it, but get into investment real estate owning, you watch him. He does a pretty darn good job of it. So, got to understand your buyer, got to understand what's going on. From Sue's perspective at Redfields, the path is pretty simple, to be frank with you, assuming the decision is made to move forward on that end of it. She might end up getting an investor too, by the way, right? An investor can come in with a bunch of cash. Somebody like whoever would come in and buy it and say, okay, good, I'm good to do that. Or the negotiation can come back and say, okay, I'll tell you what, Sue, I'm going to buy your house. I'm going to buy it for cash. I'll lease it back to you for 90 days. How do you think about that?
Anything can happen.
So that's called a purchaser's possession agreement.
Yeah.
Where you just lease it back. That might work. Okay, great. That's not a problem. I'll rent it back to you. I've got my pot of cash. I rent it back to you for 90 days or 6 months or whatever, or a month-to-month lease or whatever it is. There's multiple options out there, and that's kind of what I wanted to make sure we talked about today. There's just not one path.
Yeah.
And
well, you highlighted that well.
the path is different for people, different folks. For Jerry, it's maybe one way. Keith, it's another way. Yonna, it's whatever Yonna wants. That's the way
I
that
thought
goes.
you explained it very clearly.
Okay, thank you.
I sincerely mean that.
Thank you.
It's complicated.
Yeah, and thank you for pushing me out of my comfort zone.
I tried. You wanted the feed. You wanted the feed. That's what
Yeah,
came
yeah,
up. That's what you said.
Thank you.
We followed your call, executive producer.
So what are we going to do for our 200th show, man?
The 200th show is around the corner. What number is this?
Oh, I didn't double. I have to look at my spreadsheet. I forgot to look at it. I know it's September 3rd, I think.
Probably in the 190s right now.
Oh, yeah.
Talk.
Yeah.
What
I
are you
know.
going to do for Friday?
We're going to have a conversation.
To be determined?
To be determined,
Okay.
yeah. To be determined. September 3rd is show number 200.
That's amazing. Did you hear that, Judah? Yeah. September 3rd is show 200 for Real Talk.
We should throw out to the feed what they think we should do.
I think we should get a cast of Real Talk All-Stars on set and in studio and have folks come in and out.
Okay.
It would be fun.
Yeah, so...
Or we can even we can play a game on Real Talk. The game could be...
Stump Keith.
we got the buzzers.
We do have the buzzers.
We
actually.
could play a Real Talk version of...
Trivia.
Of beer pong, where we would have the cups set up here.
I love when your brain starts
and
turning.
And the guest gets a question, or they have to take a shot. If they miss, they have to do something. If they make, we have to do something. It doesn't have to be...
How about this idea?
Alcohol in there. It can just be water.
Really?
Yeah. Guests make the shot. Judah sets it up. So the guest is shooting from there. If they make the shot...
What does everybody think about this idea?
If they make the shot, we have to do something. If they miss the shot, we get the guest to do something.
So we could also could we do like a round robin of Zoom, of Skyping too, some folks in?
We could bring folks in via Skype. We know the in-person works.
Yeah, I love the in-person.
It's
It's unbelievably,
right.
Unbelievably better. We'll have to give that some thought. I'd love to hear what folks, 200 shows, man.
That's legit.
Yeah.
That is legit. I mean, from
Zero.
an idea to this.
Yep. It was, man, it was, I will, again, I've said this multiple times. I sat in that chair. That's a hard chair to sit in. My hat's off to you. That's a really hard thing to do. I do much better as it's really.
You're at this role. You're great at this role.
Yeah. I bounce questions at me and then let me shoot at the hip.
And let you shoot at the hip. That's what you're made for.
Yeah, well.
But you got the gift of gab.
Well,
this role's a little bit more like
and it's funny.
Structured and pace setting.
Like I said in the beginning,
this is hard.
What you do is super hard.
Yeah, looking at the
man. People need to understand this because they probably can't see it. But I've been doing enough time with you. I can watch your eyes. I can watch your body language.
Yeah, you read it.
And I know exactly what's on there without actually seeing it by your body language and how fast those fingers go. But you're looking at how many?
Every social media platform
So
out there.
at least 20?
Yeah, and just flipping back and forth.
And he's going through them. His phone, he's got everything from...
Everyone on here.
And he's doing it. He's going back and forth. And he has to keep Keith Smith's ADD in control.
And you know what? I think your ADD stays in control.
Well,
You get the talk show concept. You're good at it. You're fun with it.
well,
It's made for your skill set.
who do you got today?
I got Alex Erpy.
Oh, we love Alex.
Yeah, talking
actually, I was
finance
talking
today.
to them. We're gonna.
Actually, one of my favorite interviews is the Tuesday with him.
So, yeah, he's really set up. I would love to have him come sit here instead of on Skype, but I'm sure that's difficult for him. But it was funny. I was doing a spreadsheet out because we were talking offline and back online right now as I'm working on stacking some electeds through the second half of September and Friday, in October on the Friday roundup, and I'm start trying to fill in people that I want to get to sit at that table. It's amazing how quick you eat up your month.
Oh yeah.
It was like, because I have a couple of folks that I really want to bring on that I can't get them in. It's amazing.
This guy is A+ people. If you're looking to buy or sell your home, Keith Smith.
Well, and
Yes Realty Partners.
Yonna Smith too.
Yonna Smith.
And Quentin Beckham.
Quentin Beckham. Yes Realty Partners.
And Yes Realty Partners. And KWA,
Trusted
Keller
advisors.
Williams Alliance. But, if you're watching this and you have a relationship with a real trusted advisor, reach out to them. Take my idea and run with it. I'm sure they already know it. But that may be an option. It depends on your market, though. It really depends on where you are and what your current home status
I
is.
would very much encourage you to contact Yes Realty Partners for the buying and selling of your house, guys. You see the honesty and integrity and character that he's all about 3 days a week here on this network. He's Keith Smith. Judah Wickhauer is our director. My name is Jerry Miller. This is Real Talk. The Tuesday edition is presented by Intrastate Service Company.
A home's best friend.
Home's best friend. Well done, my friend. It's powered by Yes Realty Partners. Guys, thank you for joining us on a gorgeous Tuesday outside. Alex Erpy of Emergent Financial Services on the I Love CVille show in T-minus 50 minutes.
Alex, I call you, I promise.
Take care. Yeah, you're supposed to do that.
I know that.
You're supposed to do that.
I know
You
that.
guys have a good one. Take care.
Thanks, Chuck.